The word limited edition is a term common in high society, which is not a surprise as it's natural that the rarer an item is the higher its value. That's why millionaires can't help but collect exclusive unique art, literature, toys, clothing, and even entire houses. Today, however, we'll be looking at the rarest and probably the most expensive cars to have ever been made. Hello everyone, and welcome to Luxury by Design. Before we get into it though, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe with the notification bell for future luxurious videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10. Porsche 550 Spider. Made from 1953 to 1956 by Perry Porsche and inspired by Porsche 356, along with other Spider prototypes that were conceived at the time. This was built and marketed as both a track and road car, but most buyers used it for the former, with the Spider often outperforming the competition with ease. And since only 90 of these cars were ever built in that 3-year span, and most likely even less survived in working conditions to the modern era with an estimated number of 46 functional units, there's no downplaying the rarity and value of this car to avid collectors. These days you can get your hands on these classic racers for around $6 million. Number 9. 2008 Mybach XL Aero. From what is considered one of the most premier luxury car brands, Mybach, this car sports a twin-turbo V12 engine that gives it almost 700 horsepower and a top speed of 218 miles per hour. But that's not the only reason this car is so sought after. No, it was actually a guest star on the hit German series Cobra 11, since Maybach is a German brand. More recently though, it was featured in the music video Lost One by famous rapper Jay-Z, which only served to increase its profile. It said the car was sold for $8 million at one point in 2011, but reporters found this claim to be unfounded. Regardless, this is still one car that you'd want in your collection. Number 8. Bugatti Type 41 Royale Kellner Coupe. Looking like something you'd see in a 90s cartoon, the Type 41 or Royale was a luxury car made from 1927 to 1933. And like most cars from this time period, it was enormous. Weighing in at 7,000 pounds and having a 12-liter engine, the Royale was 25% bigger than most luxury cars today. Bugatti made these cars with the intention of selling them to noblemen and aristocrats alike for a huge sum, but the thing was, the Type 41 was made during the Great Depression, so not even the richest of the rich were inept enough to spend that much money. Because of those factors, only 7 were made, and 3 were sold with only 6 in total reported to exist in the modern era, where they have a reported price tag of $10 million. Number 7. Jaguar XK120C. The Jaguar C-Type was manufactured between 1951 and 1953, with a total of 53 models built and 43 being sold to private owners, possibly surviving to this day. And while that number may seem higher than usual for this list, that actually makes it the rarest and possibly most expensive Jaguar that exists to this day, with a price tag of $13.2 million. There are 2 variations of the C-Type, a road version with 160 to 180 horsepower and a track version with 205 horsepower, with the track version going on to win 2 of the Le Mans 24-hour races before losing to the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL due to a cooling issue. Number 6. 1998 McLaren F1 LM. A track version for the previous McLaren F1, the LM was built in commemoration for the 5 McLaren F1 GTR that competed in the Le Mans 24-hour races, where one of the GTRs even finished in first place. Their design and engine were heavily based on the winning McLarens, but had a more artistic feel to it since it was meant as a showpiece that could still go fast. Only 6 units for this model was made, with 5 being sold to private owners, and the 6th one kept by McLaren for further development of their F1 line. You can easily spot the LMs by their signature papaya orange colors, which was the same as creator Bruce McLaren's race colors. Number 5. Aston Martin DB4 GT Zagato. Marketed to the public as a more lightweight and improved version of the DB4 GT, the Zagato was named after the factory it was manufactured back in 1960, where it was supposed to have 25 units made, but unfortunately only 20 were ever produced. Powered by a 3.7-liter twin-spark engine that gave the car an impressive 314 horsepower and an all-aluminum frame that made the Zagato a whole 100 pounds lighter than the previous model, It was forced to be reckoned with on the road and track. Combine that power with the fact that Zagato is one of the world's most famous coach builders, and you have a car that easily goes for $14.3 million in modern times. Number 4. Ferrari 250 GT California SWB Spider. We probably don't need to tell you why a Ferrari is on this list, but we'll go ahead and give you a little background anyway. This car was produced between 1953 and 1964. With only 55 units ever being made, because a lot of racing models were built by Ferrari during that time. And for the oldies in the crowd, you may be wondering why the car looks awfully familiar. Well, a fiberglass replica of this model was actually used in the 80s blockbuster movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, giving the car the collector's item status and increasing its price on auctions. The highest bid recorded for a model of this kind so far was $17 million. Number 3. 1956 Aston Martin DBR1. The DBR1 is quite possibly the most important car that Aston Martin has released, with several records set and broken in the time it was manufactured, way back in 1956. To give you an idea of how much this model has achieved, you first need to know that it was made to win the World Sports Car Championship, which it did 6 times. In addition to that, it was often pitted against top racers in the 50s like the Ferrari 250 TR, where it would compete at the same level, winning a Le Mans 24-hour race the same year the 250 TR did, and even bringing home an additional Le Mans Nürburgring and Tourist trophies in 1959. Needless to say, this car was ahead of its time and was so specialized, only 5 DBR1s were ever made, giving it a value of over $22 million in modern times. Number 2. 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa. Affectionately called the TR, this race car was built between the 50s and 60s, where it commonly dominated the competition in virtually every racing event that it was put in since it was unveiled to the racing scene in 1957. Testarossa, or Redhead, referred to its fiery paint job that drew eyes of every racing fan for many, many years. It set multiple records like winning 10 World Sports Car Championships, 3 Le Mans 24-hour races, and so much more. The only car that even came close to beating it was the previously mentioned Aston Martin DBR1. The value of this car cannot be understated, and the price definitely speaks for itself, with the highest bid for it being $39 million. This makes it the second most expensive Ferrari to ever be sold. Number 1. Ferrari 250 GTO. Not much can be said for the GTO that hasn't already been said by every car enthusiast. It's been nominated as the top sports car of all time by Sports Car International in 2004, and it's even considered the greatest Ferrari of all time by many. It was so exclusive at the time of its release that you actually had to be approved by both Enzo Ferrari and his dealer before you were even allowed to peek at the car, that cost $18,000 at the time. This exclusivity survived until modern times, with the surviving 39 GTOs getting bid no lower than $50 million, and the highest ever recorded was an unofficial purchase by an anonymous buyer for $70 million. So what do you think of the 10 super rare cars you didn't know existed? Was there a supercar that we missed in the list? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you're new to Luxury by Design, give us a thumbs up, subscribe with the notification bell for future luxurious videos. Until next time.